2021 meeting of the Lakeville Library Board of Trustees. We are meeting via Zoom today. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency, the May 20th, 2021 public meeting of the Lakeville Library Board of Trustees shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. However, to view this meeting in progress, please go to http://facebook.com/LakeCAM, and you do not need a Facebook account to view the meeting. This meeting will be recorded and available to be viewed at a later date at http://www.lakecam.tv. I'd like to welcome those in attendance. I am Trustee Chair Ruth Gross, Library Trustees Nancy Lefebvre, Patrick Marshall. We would like to notice our Library Director, Jamie Viveros, and we would like to welcome our guest, the Lakeville Town Administrator, Ari Skye, and also our guests from LakeCAM, Jose Invencio and Eric Anderson, who will be recording and live streaming this meeting. So, welcome everyone, and especially Mr. Skye, thank you for joining us. And we're happy to have you. I think the first thing on our agenda is the Secretary's report that has been sent to the trustees. And unless there are any corrections or issues, I will entertain a motion to suspend the reading of the minutes and to accept them as submitted.
I'll make that motion, Patrick.
I'll second it.
Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote. Nancy Lefebvre?
Aye.
Patrick Marshall?
Aye.
And I'm Ruth Gross, aye. So we will go on to the financial report. By the way, that motion passed. Jamie, would you like to go ahead and give your budget report for us?
Sure. We're coming into the final stretch of the FY21 budget, so I really don't have any concerns at this point. The salary lines are in line with where we should be. The expenses look very good. You'll notice that we're starting to, we typically overexpend the book line just to make up the difference between audio and video. Especially this year, there really weren't very many videos released because of COVID-19 and things not being produced. So we haven't done as much purchasing in that area, but we try to usually break even in those lines to make sure we have our materials expenditure requirement met. That should be fine for this year. One other thing that's not reflected here is I've earmarked some funds for air purifiers for the building so we can start opening up some of the other spaces. It's likely that that would be covered under CARES Act funding anyway, but the next budget you'll see that. And we also have a few parking lot lights that are out that need to be repaired. So there'll be some expenditures between now and the end of June from the B&G line, but no concerns about the budget.
Do the parking lot repairs include any lights that are out, or have we already, are those the lights that are out? The ones that need to be repaired?
Are the ones that are out.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions or?
Madam Chair, just a couple of quick clarifications for me, Jamie, just getting used to the report. I'm assuming you had 2 lines for longevity. I'm assuming that's a separation of like full-time staff from part-time staff or something to that effect.
Yeah, there's one for the youth services librarian. So actually the one underneath. So 51,4,100 is the longevity for the youth services librarian. And the other longevity is for the assistants and clerks. So it's the other full-time staff. There's a breakdown in terms of date of hire. So some staff are not eligible for
Right.
longevity, including myself. So yeah.
And then the other question I had is, are you allowed, where the book budget has gone slightly above the 100%, are you allowed to spend in between the expense lines? So I noticed some of the lines were down low. Are you able to spend in between, or are you locked into the specific line items in the expense?
No, they do a bottom line budget here in Lakeville, so we can expend within the lines. Typically here, we only do that for materials. So within
Right.
books, audio, video, and periodical subscriptions, I will capture any funding that was not expended within.
Okay.
Usually books will pick that up. We tend not to do it between the other lines, try to respect the line item budget.
Okay.
But technically it's a bottom line budget.
Thank you.
Anything else? Nancy?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sky, if you have any questions, please make yourself known.
I'm mainly here just to say hello. So
Well, hello. We're glad to have you here.
I'm pleased to be here.
Okay, our next thing is the director's report. Jamie, you're on again.
Okay, so for May, we've continued to be open regular hours for browsing and borrowing, in-person holds pickup, and computer use. We're still doing curbside pickup for those that would prefer that. We're still doing our programming virtually for now. Ms. Teresa just finished up with story time, and she's making plans for outdoor programming using the stage and the lawn outside for summer programming. So we are hoping to have some in-person programming this summer at some point, and that those plans are in the works. We had a family trivia night on Tuesday, April 20th. And for adults, we had 3 live Zoom readings and discussion of J.D. Salinger's short stories. So we had professional storyteller Mary Jo Mychek joining us. The last session is next Monday night. There's still time to join if anyone's interested. All of these programs were supported by grant funds from the Lakeville Arts Council. I am planning for one more adult program virtually in June. It will be a cooking demonstration with Liz Barber. She has a whole camera set up in her kitchen so she can show different stages of cooking, and she'll be doing summer berry pies. So that, hopefully at this point, that'll be our final virtual programming, at least for now, but that's the plan. In terms of buildings and grounds, we had some work done out front on the arbor post and lattice that was repainted the first week of May. We're still waiting on our family restroom faucet. We've got under library staffing update, I've got quite a few postings happening here at the library. We have 2 retirements that are happening at the end of June. So there'll be those positions open. We have the custodian position, and one other staff has had to, he's made the decision to stop working. So we'll be moving some staff around and having a clerk position as well. So we have a number of postings out right now internally, and then we'll be seeking external candidates at some point, just to bring you up to speed. Lots of staff updates here for now.
Jamie, when you say internally, do you mean within the current staff moving up from, say, a clerk position to a higher position, or do you mean within the town?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Everything is posted internally for a week, so it is eligible for anybody within the department or within the town to apply for those positions. And then depending on what interest we have for those positions and qualifications that people may have, we may have to post them externally to find candidates. So that would happen both on the town's website, and we tend to put things up on the state website that the Mass Board of Library Commissioners hosts a jobs page. So we would also post there for people who are looking for library jobs. So just to let you know that at this point, those are kind of on their way. The internals will be ending, I believe, next week. And then if we have to go external, it'll be a couple weeks after that. Hoping to have all of these changes kind of wrapped up by July. So that way we can have folks coming on in July. Friends of the Library, they're still meeting on Zoom monthly. So their next meeting is Monday, June 7th at 6 p.m. All of their formal fundraising efforts are on hold right now. So like they don't have a book sale planned or anything, but we're hoping that maybe by the time they meet again, they won't meet in July and August. So maybe by September, they'll be able to meet in person. But for now, they're meeting on Zoom. And then Greatspawns Gallery. I don't know if you want to talk about that, or I can share from my report.
Well, our current artist is George Ferrara, and if you have not yet seen the exhibit, please do, because he's a very talented artist. We will be changing exhibits next Thursday, and after Memorial Day, the new exhibit will be Ben Gibo, who is a former Lakeville resident and is a photographer. Even though he's a commercial photographer, he is doing an exhibit of travel photos. And these two artists came in with the understanding that they would not have a reception, but at some point, maybe later in the meeting, we need to discuss whether we can possibly have an outdoor reception for Mr. Gibo. But at this point, they are not expecting to have any type of gathering.
Could I just make a comment about Mr. Ferrera's exhibit?
Yes.
Okay. I saw it the other day, and it is unbelievable what he can do. It's there are water drop on a rose. This is all black and white, and it's just, I mean, it looks like you're looking at a black and white photography because of the finesse of his skill. Really beautiful. You get to see it if you haven't seen it already.
Thank you, Nancy. He is such a talented artist, and it's just remarkable. I wish we could have, encourage hordes of people to come in, but not this time. But
and the gallery's open when the library's open?
Yes. Okay. Anything else to report, Jamie? So far as the library or all its components are concerned, have there been any gifts or anything along that line this month?
Not officially yet. There was a patron who passed away, Pat McMahon. And I know that in lieu of flowers, it was mentioned to make donations either to the Friends. I do believe one may be coming to the library, but that, like I said, not formally, so I didn't include it on this agenda.
Pat was one of our artists, and she worked with Nancy's Garden Club program as well. She will truly be missed by the gallery. She was very supportive of us, always came to the programs and to see the exhibits that were up. Does anyone have anything else to say before we go into the line item of reopening the changes that have come about from the state?
I have a bill. For the there were geraniums that are in the 9 containers out in front of the library and at the sign. So I need reimbursement. The amount was $17.99 each. It's for a total of $161.91. So I have all my paperwork to give to Jamie.
Okay.
That usually comes out of capital gifts, so I think you need to vote on it.
Okay. All
We need to
right.
vote on it, and 2 trustees, I don't sign because I'm being reimbursed, but the 2 trustees need to sign the bill.
Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to reimburse Nancy for the geraniums.
I will make that motion.
And do I hear a second, or Nancy, do I need to second it?
I think you need to step down and second.
All right, I will step down and second it as a trustee, step back up to chair.
And just what was the amount again, Nancy, on that?
$161.91.
All right.
Okay, so we will have a roll call vote. Patrick Marshall,
Aye.
Nancy LaFave.
I will abstain because I'm being reimbursed.
Okay, I will step down and my vote is aye. Step back up. That was Ruth Gross. So that passes. Patrick, do you, can you stop by and sign that?
Yeah.
At the library? Nancy, when do you think you'll have it to Jamie?
This afternoon.
Oh,
I have to go by anyway.
is it? Okay, we'll get that done for you, Nancy. Thank you. And the flowers always look beautiful. Okay, anything else before we go on? All right, Jamie, would you guide us through your plan for coming back to life at the Lakeville Library?
Sure. So this item was originally on the agenda because I wanted to make you aware that we had been rolled in with other sectors not otherwise specified at the time. But since then, the governor now has made his announcement that all of the restrictions will be lifted as of the 29th. So now the plan needs to be in place for phasing back in the regular services. So I've given you a draft there of the final, I guess the final pieces to move from the level of service that we're offering right now, which we've considered our own phase 2 extended plan, to what we'll call normal operations. So right now we're open to the public for browsing, borrowing, in-person holds pickup, public access computers, printing and faxing. For example, the meeting rooms, study spaces, and seating is not available. There's no extended stay happening in the building. Visits are limited to 1 hour. And in-person programming has been postponed, basically because no enclosed space within the building could exceed an occupancy of 10 people per 1,000 square feet. So actually, logistically trying to do programming wasn't feasible. Face coverings are required for everyone who's in the building. So now the plan for resuming normal services would be opening up the building with few limitations. We would keep the arrangement of furnishings to allow for social distancing because we think it's still prudent. The physical barriers that we have in place would remain installed at the public service desks. As I mentioned, as part of the financial report, we would have air purifiers happening in each of the meeting spaces, like anywhere where there would be group congregation, to try to make sure the air is recirculating. And I had a loose timeline here for bringing back the regular services. Now, this is where, I'm glad that Ari has joined us because, this is part of, like, the town needs to plan for this as well. So this timeline is really just what I had originally envisioned, given the fact that we thought maybe this would be happening in August or potentially in July, kind of now having to bump it up, thinking with everything coming down May 29th, like what that really means for the libraries. we had a department head meeting this morning. I know that Ari has plans for working on the rest of town. I would like to be part of that too. So we're in step with what's going on overall for the town of Lakeville. I also have a directors meeting tomorrow morning with the rest of the regional directors to get a sense, like we're all in the same place where now what does this mean for all of us? Are we bumping up all of our timelines? But the idea would be to phase some of the regular services back in. So having people bringing back some of the seating, opening up the quiet rooms eventually. We would hold in-person programming outdoors through the summer. Like, as I mentioned, Ms. Teresa has the stage for children. We could do some of the adult programming out by the gazebo. Potentially some of the smaller groups could meet in-house, but use the large room to allow for social distancing. The window is open in there, so there's good ventilation. Then we would expand to allow for more time spent in the building and 2 hours on public computers, because right now we're limiting to 45 minutes. We used to have in the past a 2-hour window where people could use computers, and then eventually having the meeting room available for outside groups and then holding in-person programming. So like I said, the idea would be using June to kind of phase some of these things back in, thinking about July as opening up some more, maybe August 1st, having meeting room open, or whether or not we should actually do in-person programming first and then move the meeting reservations beyond that, because our meeting room policy really says that library programming takes priority over regular meeting room reservations. So, I don't know if the order of that and the timeline of this, like I said, it's really loose, because at this point, we almost have more questions than answers about how to move forward with this. Because I guess my biggest question will be, if we're able to, require face coverings inside. I don't know if that's going to be a continued thing as far as the town, if it would just be us, whether or not people, given that there's not a mandate, how that works. I know there's CDC recommendations. We have to think about our public restrooms. And then there's just some questions in terms of staffing, those sort of things I would work with Ari on. We don't really have to talk about as far as staffing we're concerned, but.
I'm going to weigh in if that's okay. So there are a lot of unknowns right now. What we do know is that technically speaking, after May 29th, we have the ability to pretty much end all restrictions if we wanted to. Within the CDC guidelines, that's basically all. That's basically what the state said so we could do. I don't think that necessarily that's advisable. I know Jamie doesn't think that's advisable. And we're working on the town side on reopening plans and things that we can look at as far as sort of what the new normal looks like. This happened very suddenly when the state decided to do this, and it caught, I think, a lot of people off guard and trying to figure out how to deal with it. In terms of masks and so on, I mean, the something that we're going to be looking at. We do have some CARES Act money remaining. That money ends at the end of December. After that, it'll be a question of how the board decides to use the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act money. I don't know that there'd be a great desire to use it for COVID mitigation, but there may be some need. There'd probably be some COVID expenses that would occur that we'd have to keep things held for. So at this point, I mean, my intention, I think Jamie's feels the same. You can speak for yourself, Jamie, of course. My intention would be to defer as much as possible to the guidance provided by the Board of Health and health agent, and make sure that whatever we set up is something that they feel so has their blessing, is something that is safe and sustainable and not endangering our staff or members of the public. So that's kind of where we're coming from right now.
Jamie, how are you preparing the staff? I mean, there are so many questions and whatnot, but certainly I can see come May 30th, you're going to have the individuals come in because of, restrictions have been lifted. is there a way, or how are you preparing the staff to potentially handle customers that, you know, I don't have to wear a mask, I'm vaccinated and whatnot? Because that could become, not just for the library, but for any town department, really. But
Right. My sense of it is that, like the businesses that are happening, the businesses can make decisions about how their spaces are used. So whether or not we would still stay with a mask requirement for this building, considering it's used by, a wide range of people in the community, including children, which at this point, aren't necessarily eligible for vaccination. So I think we've got, our patron base, the continuum is from the very young to the very old. So whether or not we keep something in place for the sake of safety, even though people, the guidelines are that they don't need to wear them, but whether or not it's in the library's best interest to maintain that for the sake of providing a safe space for the entire community. These are conversations that will have to be had, as Ari mentioned, with the Board of Health, and make those determinations. And I will spend some time talking with the staff as well in terms of getting a sense of what their concerns are. I mean, honestly, it's really new information. So we've had a few preliminary conversations. It's like, I think, people have been relatively good through all of this with having the mask requirement in the building and complying with that. So it's hard to know now, even though the guidance is out there that you don't need it, that if we're asking for people to maintain that in the building, if we would all of a sudden start having a problem with it, we may. And we may encounter that. It's, I'm not really sure yet.
One of the issues we're going to have, I think, from a point of view of the staff or anyone in the building is if you have not had an inoculation, you're supposed to be wearing a mask. And if people do not take that responsibility seriously, they kind of jeopardize anyone who's using a public building like the library and the children who are, as you said, not able to have inoculations at this time. So we're going to have to that's going to be I think the big question.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that if someone feels that they don't need one because of herd immunity, and yet we have people who may have issues, or people at home that have issues?
And it's like what the restaurants are reporting. You don't want the library staff or really any town employees to have to become the police, so to speak, on determining.
Or the trustees there.
Anyway, that's a problem that we're trying to grapple on the town side as well.
Yeah.
Not all staff's been vaccinated. We certainly ask the honor system that people say if they haven't been vaccinated, then we'll wear masks around. So frankly, the truth is, based on the science, that's more to protect them than it is us. Nevertheless, it is a concern. There is no way for staff or you don't have the authority, even if you wanted to be the vaccination police. So it's going to have to basically be an honor system, I think, Jamie, right? And and that's just the way it is. And now that the restriction on indoor is basically gone, there's really no requirement there either. We can enforce distancing, require people to be distant, and we can ask people if you haven't been vaccinated, please wear a mask inside the building. But someone could just say, sorry, there's nothing to stop someone from saying, well, misrepresenting themselves and saying, I've already been vaccinated. So I think that is a concern, and I'm totally frankly, I'm not sure what to do with it. I don't think any of us are, because it's an unsolvable problem. It's an equation with no product. Yeah. So
I think the library, Jamie, you may be in slightly better shape having had the library open.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's not, I would imagine that there's not that pent up, hopefully not that pent up frustration of, like wanting to go to a concert somewhere, the library's been open, you have the ability to go in. So that may actually be a benefit to you and the staff.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the pent up demand that we have is really for the in-person programming, which is why we would plan for outside to get started anyway.
I mean, my wife and I went to the movies over the weekend. We're both vaccinated. So we were thrilled to go to the movies for the first time in forever. And we went to the movies. They're distancing in the theater, which that's fine. I think we'll continue to have that to some degree. But they also had a requirement that people wear masks inside the theater unless they're eating. And there were a lot of people who weren't eating who didn't bother with masks. I just feel a little bit squirrely. We got some distance between everybody, and we kind of had to remind ourselves, listen, we're vaccinated, so it's kind of a little problem to some degree. But it's that's a private business and trying to a relatively controlled environment compared to a public space, and that even that one they didn't really have fully under control. So.
I don't really have a problem with any of the members of the staff who want to continue to wear a mask as a form of protection. So I think that's something that they should feel, depending on how comfortable they are, because of the plexiglass, which we will be leaving up, I would assume.
Yes.
For a while. Yeah. So the plexiglass does give them a little bit more protection. And if we're doing air purification, that should help too. But if they feel more comfortable wearing a mask, then I think that's okay.
Yeah, I imagine that we will be for some time. Yeah, if I had to venture, but like I said, we'll have more conversations about that for sure. Be checking in more with the health agent about what we're proposing. Like I said, there were no initial concerns, but I think there'll be more to come.
Oh,
Is there
Definitely.
something? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to ask, is there something that you need from us, Jamie? I mean, if we're meeting not until June sometime, is there something you need from us between now and then to help you with this process, or even planning or what have you, or just want to you'll keep us informed as it goes forward?
Right. I think once the overall plan for town, like to get a sense of where everyone is at in terms of the other buildings as well, and I will keep you apprised of that and update this timeline based on any other information that I have. But yeah, I think at this point now it's just a matter of, for the staff, really, we have to adapt our processes, because for all of opening up all of these spaces, they really need cleaning protocols. So we would have to just build that in and decide how we're going to handle meeting room reservations, and is there downtime in between use of the smaller rooms to allow for the air to clean itself. I don't know. And cleaning in between users, things like that. So now it really becomes more logistics and nitty gritty with the staff to figure out the procedures for opening up these spaces.
Now, we are still being cleaned by the town crew that does other buildings.
Yes.
Are there plans for them to step up cleaning?
We haven't had any of those conversations yet.
Okay.
We're really just starting this out now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
We're really just starting this out now. So, I mean, and we're not going to do anything until we're ready to do it.
Obviously, yeah. So, well, I wish you both luck, because it's unprecedented, shall we say, as everyone else does.
Well, remember the curse, may you live in interesting times. So, yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah. Okay, well, Jamie, we're here for support, and
We thank you for the detail.
Yeah. Okay. Anything more on the reopening?
I would just say, Jamie, I liked your plan that you had. I know the timelines are still kind of screwy with how things were set up, but lot of thought went into that, you can tell. So, just nice job on that.
Okay, so does anyone have anything else before we go on to planning our next meeting?
Madam Chairman, if it's okay, I'll sign off now. I have a selectmen's meeting coming up in about 20 minutes. But it's
Thank
been
you very much for joining us, and
very good
you're
to see
welcome
all of you.
anytime.
Thank you. It's been very good to see all of you. Just wanted to say hello, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Great.
Thanks for coming,
Thank you.
Harry.
Welcome again.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Welcome.
Bye-bye. Okay, our next meeting would be in June. Are we usually the second Thursday? I know we're the third Thursday because I was out of town last week. June 10th?
We were
Oh,
Thursday last month too, so.
yeah, so is Thursday good for you, Patrick?
It is for now. It is going to change, I'm sure, at some point soon, but for now it's fine. And I can
Okay.
let me know if things change.
Okay, certainly.
So we're talking June 10th,
June 10th, good?
2 o'clock?
Okay. Then I think June 10th at 2 o'clock by Zoom.
We assume.
Okay. And unless there's anything else, I will entertain.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Would you translate that, Nancy? Was that a second? Rough.
Unfortunately, I wasn't fast enough on the mic. Patrick, did you make the motion?
I did, yeah. I'll make a
Okay, I will
motion
make
to.
the second.
All right, all those in favor, we'll have a roll call vote. Nancy LaFave,
Aye.
Patrick Marshall,
Aye.
and I am Ruth Gross. Aye. The motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
everybody.
Thank you, Eric.